What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Rush, back for Wobbling About and Rocking Out. This time, I'm joined by the one and only Omar from the Passion Universe podcast. Omar is a creator, a advocate for disabilities, and many other things. And I'm excited to chat with him. So, welcome on the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. That was a very generous introduction.
Nah, it's well deserved, my friend. So, if we take this back, do you remember? Because for people that may not know, what is your disability?
So I was born with spina bifida. So it's basically a condition that affects my mobility. It's mainly in the spinal cord, so my legs and my balance are affected. I
Hmm.
started using a wheelchair when I was 11 on a part-time basis. I can still walk short distances. Yeah,
Mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. So you brought up there what your condition is. For people that may not know, and this might sound like a very ignorant question, and I do apologize. Spina bifida is something you're born with, correct?
I was born with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I thought so. So do you remember the first, you may remember from like childhood, but do you remember the first time you was like, ah, I have a disability, this is going to be a challenge?
That's a good question. Um, I suppose it was when I joined primary school,
Mm.
and I think I was wearing splints at that point, and I just realized, oh, I can't quite like walk long distances. My friends look different to me, and that's when I realized, oh, I have a disability. Okay, here we go.
Mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. So, for people that may not know, because as I said, you're quite a big advocate for disabilities. If you was to be at school now, with the knowledge you have uh, as a grown adult and stuff like that about your disability and things like that, is there anything you would change or anything you think could be done different now that maybe you didn't do back then?
So I actually grew up in Sudan. I was born and raised in Sudan until I was 15,
Oh wow.
and disability access is not the best in Sudan, let's just say. So schools were not designed to suit wheelchairs or people with disabilities. So that's what I would change really. I would try and raise awareness, speak to people in charge, and try and get more ramps, lifts, and anything they need installed.
Mm. Has that awareness got better? Like, I don't know if you'd know, but as you've got older, have you seen that awareness in Sudan get better?
To some extent, yeah. So when I joined high school, they didn't have ramps for me to enter classrooms, and they had to like adapt and make changes. So I suppose it's kind of getting better the more they see people like me joining schools and trying to, you know,
Hmm.
uh, I guess mix with other people and have the same opportunities, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean there, my friend. So you talked about there having the same opportunities as some people. Currently, you are in university, correct?
Yes, I'm going into the second year of a sport media degree at Cardiff Met University.
That is very cool, my friend. So how do I explain this? Like how did it was that something you always had a passion for? How did you decide that's what you wanted to do, etc.?
Um, I've always I've always been passionate about wrestling, I would say. I started watching it when I was 7 years old with my grandmother, and it just stayed with me. I've had dreams of working in the wrestling media, but I didn't really pursue them because I thought, oh, I'm never gonna get there. I sort of doubted myself, and because I lived in Sudan at the time, I was like, it's a far-fetched dream to have.
Hmm.
So I started by doing biomedical engineering first. So I did that for a year. I wasn't really enjoying it. So um, about a year ago, I just sort of had like an epiphany and decided to switch. And I was like, now I have to pursue this, and I'll just see how far I get.
I understand completely there. So you talked about there uh, a year ago, maybe being down and stuff like that and things like that. What do you do now on the days that you're like, I'm in a bit of pain or maybe I didn't sleep too well last night, not just because of your disability, but mainly because of your disability. And you're like, today's going to, mental health wise, today's might not be a good day. Have you put things in place to be like, to keep the old mental health in a good place, shall we say?
Yeah, so I train at the gym 3 times per week. That's sort of my happy place. It keeps me
Mm,
sane. It gives my life structure. I know exactly what I'm doing daily at specific times. And my family and friends have been like a great support system for me as well. So
mm.
whenever I have uh, like low moments or I need to speak to someone, they're always there to listen to me and support me.
That's
So I'm
very
forever grateful to them. Yeah.
That's very cool. You brought up there your friends and family supporting you because, and I'm very curious to talk about this, but if it's something you're not comfortable talking about, please tell me and I'll get Dom to edit it out and stuff. Because your condition wasn't very well known in Sudan, how supportive were your family back then?
My family was always very supportive. I can remember the first time I came to the UK, well, I can't really remember, but I got told, I guess, I was 6 months old. So they've always been like supportive of me. They wanted me to have the same opportunities as everyone else. So that's why we came to the UK to get the best education, to get the best healthcare system, and to get the disability awareness that Sudan is lacking, I guess.
Mm. So, if you, so say for example, you were to go back to Sudan tomorrow, and I know we keep harping on this, I just think it's very interesting. What would
That's
you
okay.
say to the powers that be? Because I don't really know how that works. I'm not gonna lie. In Sudan, when it comes to disability, you become sort of the, I want to say minister of disability, but you know what I mean, right? In Sudan, what would you immediately be like? This has got to change. This has got to change, etc.
I suppose I would start with the way disability is looked at. So it's not everyone, but in some parts it's sort of not respected or frowned upon, if you know what I mean. So I would
Totally.
start with just like raising awareness, teaching people about how disabilities come about or how to adapt to disabilities when they actually happen, and basically try and um, I don't know how to explain it, but try and like teach people how to listen to people with disabilities and uh, have their needs met in a way.
Mm. I think you just did a very nice job, man. That was
Thank you.
perfect explaining that, to be honest. So you did bring up there that you're a wrestling fan and you want to be involved in wrestling media and content creation. So how did your podcast, The Passion Universe, come about?
Passion Universe is a project I started a few weeks ago, really, or a couple of weeks ago. I just had like downtime during the summer holidays, and I was like, I need a project to keep me busy. So I was like, I'm gonna start a podcast on YouTube, and thankfully I met people like you who are doing amazing things, and I can model myself after. So
I am always stunned when people say they model their work after me, but I do appreciate that, man. So do you have, and I'm not saying like a list of goals off the top of your head, but when it comes to media in general, do you have any goals of like this is where I want to be by the end of the year, etc., etc.?
uh, my goals, I would say, are mostly long-term goals. So my ultimate goal is to hopefully one day work for WWE.
Mm.
But I don't really have like short-term goals. I'm someone who just goes with the flow and listens to my gut instinct, really, of what I should be doing.
Mm. You brought up there listening to your gut instinct and looking at some of your content on YouTube, other than the Passion Universe, where you've interviewed like wheelchair rugby players and people like that. How how did listening to your gut instinct maybe help you with those interviews, and how did those interviews come about?
So I'm lucky enough to have an amazing mentor at university. He's a director of my course. So whenever he gets opportunities, specifically within the disability world and the disability media section, he always gives me like a heads up and tries to get me involved. So that's how it came about, really. He sent a few emails and he got me connected with Channel 4 to get involved with them and to work as a reporter and a floor manager for the wheelchair rugby European Championships. It took
That
place
was
actually about 2 months ago. Yeah. So
that's very cool, man. So when you get opportunities like that, do you how do you keep your mind at bay? Because we all have, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but we all do have moments of like, I don't belong here. Do you know what I mean? How do you keep your mind at bay and make sure you are like, no, Omar, you do belong here, sort of thing?
I definitely had that because as a first year student who hasn't really covered reporting or has enough experience yet, I was like, am I really supposed to be here? But
Mm.
I sort of just like pushed through it and I was like, even if I don't belong here yet, I'm gonna give it my best. So one day I can look back at it and say, it made me the person I am today.
I understand what you're saying completely there. You talked about making the person you are today. I'm always curious to know when I talk to someone else with disability, because my family have asked me this question quite regularly, which is if we had a wand and could give you, I hate the word a normal life, but Omar will know what I mean, right?
I can relate, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you take it? Like, honest answer, Omar. If someone gave you a magic wand and was like, I could, you could have, I still hate the word a normal life, but that's the one we're going to go with. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean, yeah. And honestly, I don't think I would take it. My life with disability is all I've known really since I was born. So I wouldn't really change it for anything because I'm a big fan of like time travel movies. And if you change one thing, it's like sort of the domino effect.
Butterfly effect, I think, is
Yeah,
what it's
exactly.
normally called in movies.
Yeah. So a lot of things change. So I would say I'm in a very good place now. So I wouldn't really change it for anything. I'm happy with it.
That's very cool, man. So you talked about there your mentor when it comes to wrestling media. Who are some, not wrestling media, sorry, just regular media? I'm so used to doing a certain style of interview. I
Yeah,
do apologize, my friend. Uh,
that's okay.
when it comes to your media career, who are some of the maybe people in media that you're like, you look up to, maybe bigger, maybe like that maybe do have challenges or disabilities that you're like, they're doing something cool. It'd be cool to model my career after them.
You are definitely one of them.
No, 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 no. I always
Yeah,
say that. That's weird.
absolutely. It's yourself, Dom Smith as well. He's doing amazing. I connected with him during Money in the Bank weekend. I saw a couple of videos of what he was doing, so that's definitely
Mm,
someone I look up to and you know try and model myself after.
mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. And shout out to Dom Smith for giving us this opportunity to talk about talk about your good self and for giving me this opportunity to do the interview, man.
I could not be more grateful to him.
Neither could I, my friend. Like you and I have talked about this before. Dom is definitely my mentor, and I would not be in the position I am today without him. But before I go sappy, should we discuss our podcast that we're launching, possibly, my friend?
Absolutely, go for it.
So, before we do that, do you remember how we connected?
I think I watched your interview with Muscle Man Malcolm,
Mm,
and I loved it. So I was like, it's really cool to see someone with a disability doing amazing work in the wrestling media. So I think I sent you a Twitter DM. That's how we
mm.
connected.
You did, and you were just very complimentary and stuff. And to peel the curtain back, I to peel the curtain back, we're basically, it sounds like, and Dom might clarify this with an announcement video and things like that. It sounds like we're going to be taking over this channel, correct? And doing like interviews on this channel and things like that, right?
Hopefully that's the plan. Yeah.
Hopefully that's the plan, definitely. So I just lost my train of thought there. Help me out, Omar. Like,
Yeah. So we are both advocates for disability, like you
yeah,
mentioned.
yeah,
So
definitely.
the goal would be to have people sharing their stories just about daily life with a disability and how it changed the trajectory of their lives and
Mm.
hopefully inspire people. Yeah.
Definitely. To peel the curtain back, I know where I was going with that now. I had pitched this idea to Dom maybe about a year and a half ago, and I said to him that I want you to be my co-host, etc. He was like, unfortunately, my friend, with a full-time job and everything like that, I couldn't commit. But find yourself a co-host, and I'd be more than happy for you to do it. And when you sent me that DM, I just loved your energy, your passion, your chutzpah, for lack of a better word, the way that you wasn't letting your disability get you down and things like that. And I just said to Dom, I was like, I think this guy will be perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you. Thank you.
And he said it, and he basically said, set up a pitch and we'll talk. And I know you two hit it off right away. He was telling me.
Yeah, we had a very quick Zoom meeting with him, and he was very complimentary, and he was just ready for us to go and attack it heads on and see how it goes.
So speaking of how it goes with our podcast, which we do think is probably just going to be called the Wobbling About and Rocking Out podcast, right?
Yep.
What are some of your goals with that podcast? You talked about the general idea of it and things like that, but what are some of your like overall goals that you're like, I'd like to, whether it be guests, the format, etc. Because I've got some, but this is your time, so we'll go with you first of all.
The main goal, I suppose, is for someone who is in the same shoes as us to watch it and go, I can do that, basically. So I think the aim is to show people that no matter how you look like, no matter how you sound like, if you have a disability, it doesn't matter if you have passion, you can just go as far as you can.
No, and I fully agree with you on that one. I think my thing is the podcast has turned into something a bit bigger than what I was anticipating, but I'm excited to see where it goes and the guests we can get. Should we tease that? We've talked about the first guest, but we haven't really confirmed it yet, have we? So should we
Shall we
tease that?
shall we leave it for him to make an announcement, maybe?
Yeah, go on. We'll leave it to him to make the announcement. Short version, guys. We're hoping that Dom will be the first guest, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And basically, we have said like we would love for Dom to be the first guest, but we will let him make the announcement when he's ready. I think once this interview drops, that will be when we start working on the podcast a bit more. I was going to talk to you this off camera, but I think the plan, based on what me and Dom were saying and what you were saying, was we're going to try for bi-weekly, but it might be a once a month thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're a university student and things like that. Speaking of which, Omar, when you did decide I'm going to go to university and stuff like that, even on your original course, did you ever have an apprehension moment of like, I'm not going to fit in, things aren't going to be accessible, and even the making friends side of it? Did you have any apprehension at all?
I definitely had an apprehension about making friends because I like to think of myself as someone who's easygoing, but I still have like social anxiety, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
In terms of accessibility, I wasn't really worried because the college I went to was really good in terms of accessibility, sorting out transport for me. So I knew that would be taken care of. And even if it wasn't, I'm kind of used to adapting and just going with the flow, like I said earlier. So
You talked about there, and I think that's very cool the way you are able to adapt and go with the flow. But has there ever been a moment that you have put your foot down and gone, no, this isn't right, and this needs to change when it comes to disability?
um, probably when I joined high school in Sudan, yeah. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, they didn't have ramps for me to enter classrooms, and I was using a manual chair at that point. So with the help of my dad, we definitely spoke to the head teacher and said, this isn't right. Some stuff have to change for me to be able to join the school. So
I understand what you're saying completely. And you talked about there being in school and things like that. How are you hoping that you'll be able to, if the podcast does take off, balance your university side with the content creation and overall the passion universe? Is that something you're hoping to balance with university?
it's something I'm actively working on, balancing my social life, my academic life, and uh, training at the gym, playing basketball. Uh, it's something I'm definitely constantly working on. And like I said earlier, the gym is one of the things that give me structure. So if I know I'm going to the gym at a specific time, then I know exactly when I'm doing everything else.
Mm.
So I
I know.
can basically plan my life around it and see if I can, you know,
I know
go with it.
exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean there. Because the gym is a big part of my life, not with basketball, but with boxing, as you know.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
when it comes to planning your life around the gym, on days that maybe you've scheduled a workout, but like something gets in the way or something like that. Do you ever have a moment of like, maybe I'm not as settled as I thought I was without this workout?
It definitely happens, but uh, I guess it relates back to the point of just adapting and going with the flow and listening to my body. And yeah,
I know exactly what you mean there. So you talked of, I'm very curious how you talked about going with the flow there and stuff. So when things do go your way, do you have something don't go your way? Do you have something you say to yourself to not make yourself go with the flow, but I know what I mean, like to keep you on a level head, for lack of a better word.
I found that, for example, when it comes to the gym, having a personal trainer definitely helps with the accountability side of it. So
Mm,
even on the days that I don't want to go, I know that I have to show up for him.
mm.
I also train with my friends, with my brother sometimes. So the social element of it definitely helps me to push through on the days that I don't feel like it.
You brought up social element there. What do you like to do when you're not content creating and stuff like that that people may not know for like the social side and without the gym as well?
Yeah, so I play wheelchair basketball. I've been playing for about 6 years now. I like to play video games. I'm someone who watches a lot of TV. Sport documentaries really
Oh,
uh, appeal to me as well for inspiration.
oops.
Yeah.
You brought up the term inspiration there. Dom likes to use the word inspiration porn. I don't know if you've ever seen that in any of his interviews before.
I think I heard the term. Yeah.
Yeah, what is your thoughts on people with disabilities being use the term inspiration and stuff like that? And what is your thoughts on that term of people being like inspired by people like us?
I think it's a great thing. Uh, I suppose it can get a bit um, contrived if it's coming from a selfish or an arrogant place,
Mm.
if you know what I mean. But if it's coming from other people who look up to you and see what you're doing and are using it to better their lives, then I think it's an incredible thing. Yeah.
That's very cool. So you talked about their bettering life and things like that. As we look at wrapping this up, I'm not gonna lie, this is the first wobbling about and rocking out interview I've done in a while. So I do not have like an end segment or end questions. But as we look at wrapping this up, who are some of the athletes? We talked about content creators, but as a athlete, who are some of the athletes that inspire you, like people like that, and who are because I want to tease who are some people that you're like, if we could get them on the podcast, that would be cool.
In terms of athletes who inspire me, definitely Tanny Gray Thompson,
Mm,
wheelchair racing legend, Patrick Anderson, wheelchair basketball player, definitely in the Hall of Fame one day.
definitely.
Um, yeah, so I like watching a variety of sports, and I try to take uh, as many things as I can from different people to, fit with my life.
I understand that completely. So if someone said to you there, you inspire, like you've said it to me a few times and during this conversation, and I've been like, do I really? Like I because I'm just a guy that sits in his bedroom creating content. I think you and I have discussed this before, like you don't see the wider not effect, that's the wrong word, but the wider a
The wider
consequence of
scope of things, yeah, and how you
the
reach
scope of
people.
how you
Yeah.
reach people. Exactly that. What would you do, like, if someone came up, like, how would that make you feel if someone came up to you and said, "Oh, you inspire, you inspire me."
Um, I don't really react to compliments very well, uh, but I guess I'll just say thank you and try and find out why I inspire them and maybe do more of it.
Mm, I understand what you're saying completely there. So, for the end question of this interview, Omar, I am going to rip off a question from your podcast, The Passion Universe, which is the next guest we have on will likely be someone for our podcast. So, if you can leave that guest with a piece of advice, what would that be and why?
I actually ripped off my closing tradition from the podcast, The Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you heard about it.
Oh, you did? Yes, I
So,
have seen that. Yes, I have seen that. Right.
so I took the idea and kind of made it my own. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of advice, I think I would say just listen to your heart, listen to your gut instincts. Uh, as much as it's hard to do, definitely easier said than done. It's easy to doubt yourself, but just try and push through, find the people that support you, and do the thing you're passionate about. Because if you're passionate about it, you're gonna do well at it, and you're gonna shine at it. So
That's very cool to hear, man. So, and this has been a great conversation. I think a great introduction for you, for the people of Wobbling About and Rocking Out. So, as we wrap this up, Omar, where can the good people find anything you want to promote, things like that? And thank you for a great conversation.
thank you. I had a great time. In terms of social media, I'm on YouTube as Passion Universe, like Tom said. I'm on Instagram as Omer Hagomer, Omer with a zero instead of an O. Oh, so it's a zero Hagomer. On Twitter as Omer Hagomer, Omer Hagomer.
It's well worth checking out his content, guys. Probably not only one of the nicest people that I've ever connected with, but definitely someone that I feel like could be holding up media in the next few years. So if you guys like this conversation, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Wobbling About and Rocking Out. And we, shall I say, will hopefully see you in the next one. Goodbye now.